happened in church and my parents' beliefs about it. And God was just this vengeful God. And so I just knew that when I was asking for help in those bathroom experiences, that, it was going to be like a lightning strike or something, And so I didn't really want to do that stuff. But along about 2008, I was miraculously saved in a situation that I really should have died. And, there was a little bit of stuff that was involved that day. Okay, let's be honest. There was a lot of stuff that was involved that day, and alcohol was the primary cause. It was also a relationship and stuff like that, And it left me with a permanent injury. That permanent injury led me into doctor's offices, and that always helped my love of alcohol, because they say don't mix stuff, but come on, really, it's like a recipe. It's right there. And it says don't mix it. Usually if you say don't to me, I'm going to do it. That's you giving me the go-ahead, right? So, I had been what I would say was drug-free for several years. Now, that doesn't mean I was working a program. Doesn't even mean I knew there was a program that existed. It just meant that what had been my choice in earlier years, I wasn't doing anymore, And so, anyway, so this injury caused me a lot of problem and a lot of pain. And that took me down a really dark road. And some stuff happened. I got in some trouble. It wasn't my fault, and I don't really know what happened because I was, in a jail cell for 3 days, and I don't really remember any of it. But I know that it really wasn't my fault. And I'm absolutely certain that the charge I caught was completely wrong. I mean, it was a DUI, and isn't that for alcohol? Because the beer can was closed. It was never opened. I was real lucky I didn't catch a lot of other charges. I was also real lucky that I lived through that. Because the write-ups in the paper were horrendous. They're like my little convertible took out a couple of semi-trailers and I kept going. And then I did it again, just right down the road. And I mean, it was, one of those write-ups that makes like all of Texas. And it, made it into the hands of my board certification and my employers. And, I lost a lot of stuff that day. And nobody would come get me from jail. Nobody. I had one little friend that finally came and drove, and it was sad because we pulled that beer can out of the car, the wreckage, because it was still sealed, and we put it in his car, and we drove, and when we got home, it busted all over that man's poor beautiful car. But that proves to you that I did not deserve that DUI. That's what I got. And, it was just a plain miracle that I went to a probation office a couple 100 miles away every month, and they never drug tested me, and I was always loaded, and, it was like playing Russian roulette, and I just didn't get caught, which is cool. Way cool, way cool. But it never struck me that I might have a problem. Never. And so I lost a lot of stuff, a career and family and my child. And, like my child had to run to a whole nother, part of the state. Got his license and just took off. He knew Mom was nuts. And, hey, I'm just glad he had his license and could find somebody that would take him in, right? Looking back, it was a really good thing that he did, and I'm so thankful for it, because that took me into some of my darkest days. The days where the only calls I would make was to my dealers. the days when, every window had to be papered over. There was a Christmas, and I had some money, so I bought me a lot of stuff, and that stuff didn't make me really happy, And there was a Christmas that I just sat there in the dark because there was just nobody. And even that didn't make me think that there was a problem, because it was still everybody else's problem. But then, a little while later, I got pretty suicidal. And I took some pills and did some stuff, and I got really sick. But then I was okay. And then I really felt like a failure, because I'm like, what the hell? How hard do I have to try to take myself out? And what's going on here? There was this accident, and now this, and I'm still here. And I'd have to wake up every day in that darkness, and I just hated it. And then a couple months down the road, I got sick, like real sick. And was in the hospital, and the doctor walks in, doctor that I've known since I was 9, and he says, Misty, he wouldn't even come to the bedside, okay? He says, Misty, you're going to need a liver transplant within the week. All right. So I looked at my mom, who swears she wasn't there. And I swear she was. And I said, hell no, I don't believe this. But I got discharged without that liver transplant. And I went home back to the darkness. And I remember sitting there going, by this time I was about 75 pounds. 75 pounds, very, very sick. And still drinking and doing whatever could come my way. And I had just started a yoga class. Crazy weird things we do. In fact, at this time, I was like playing around with spiritual stuff, like reading books about Buddhism and just, like investigative reporting, of all this spiritual stuff. And so I couldn't make it to this yoga class. I was way too sick, and I was surfing the net, and I remember saying to God, like, after being told I had to have a liver, I remember saying to God, okay, God, how can I be happy? Because at that point, that's all I wanted was to be happy, And the real question was, God, how can I be happy with what little time I have left? Because I really thought I had a little time left. And so God showed me this thing that was wild and crazy and weird, and said, do it. And I said, no. And then I see it again, and he's like, do it. And I'm like, and that was like my first real experience with God telling me to do something, right? So I do this thing, and God in his infinite wisdom, because God is so cool, God puts me in this treatment center, not as a patient, but as a volunteer. And you know what was funny? They never once asked me if I was sober. Never once. So for almost 2 years, I walked into this women's house and this men's house, and I did this funny little thing that I do, and I made everybody happy, and I talked about how great the divine was, and then I was just some kind of crazy nutcase fraud, I had some sober times, don't get me wrong. I mean, I wasn't always whacked out, but, let's be real. I had a husband at home who was always whacked out, and so for me, stopping could only last a short period of time, because I had no defense, and that's what the book tells us. We have no defense, right? Our defense has to come from a higher power, and my husband was not a higher power. So I did this little thing, and the cool thing about that is when I had finally had enough, when I finally decided that I couldn't do what was going on in my house anymore, all the baloney, and I completely blamed my husband. I knew who to go to. But the way that happened showed me my true sickness. because here's how it went down. I woke up one morning and I got pissed off. And I proceeded to get into a fight. And I proceeded to break a perfectly good, nice lamp over my dear sweet husband's head. And he threatened to call the cops. And I was a little worried about that. But then he left. And then I was just, cleaning up blood. Head wounds bleed a lot. It's remarkable, actually. And I had nice carpet, too. I mean, we live in a nice house. We had a nice lamp and a nice carpet. And a nice washcloth that I was trying to clean all this mess up with. But I made my way into the bathroom and I looked at myself. And I was worried about that nice lamp and that nice carpet and that nice washcloth. And that's when the disconnection came. That's when I looked in the mirror and I said, who the hell are you? Who are you? The only thing I was worried about was going back to jail. And, was I going to buy another lamp? And every time I would walk past a mirror, which we had a lot of mirrors in our house, every time I would walk past a mirror, I'd just look, and I didn't know this woman. I had no clue who this woman was. I thought I was out there in the community doing great things. I mean, I was volunteering, for God's sakes. Trying to help drunks and drug addicts. To laugh and have fun. And, I had fun doing it. And I thought I had really good motives. But inside, I was this terrible, horrible person. Just awful and completely disconnected. I was a fraud in every single way imaginable. I could tell you all about meditation and yoga and Buddhism and Taoism and Christianity, and I had a degree in Bible, and I didn't believe anything, none of it, and none of it was working for me. What I realized was when I talked to God in my desperation after that whole liver thing, I asked the wrong question. If I had just asked the question, God, how can I get these drugs and this alcohol out of my life and keep it out? I mean, I've lost a son to this disease. An 18-year-old. Drug overdose. And in some ways, I was that child's model. But it never hit me. I've lost a lot of people to this. And yet, it took what it took, when it took, for me to ask that question. The question I asked on the 13th of July was, how can I be done? How can I be done with all of this? That all of this was the craziness of my life. It was the insanity of my marriage. It was the waking up pissed off, going to bed pissed off. It was being on the hunt. It was being on the lookout. It was being paranoid. It was never having enough. It was running out. It was everything. My whole life was just chaos. So I did what any sane, normal woman would do. I kicked my husband out. In fact, I got high, really high, all the time, drank a lot of booze, and I packed all of his shit. Okay? And actually, I had been not easy, clean. I had been clean for a period of time before this night, but I had to get really, really messed up to do this. And so I did that. And the next morning at 8:30 in the morning, I showed up at an 8 a.m. meeting. And I was a mess, and I have no idea what they said, and it didn't matter. Somebody handed me a book and got me some food, and that was pretty cool. And then I did this geographical thing, where I took off, went and hung out with my child for about 30 days, and removed myself from everything, and that was hell. Like all those other days that I thought was hell, no, this was hell. See, my son's a college student, So he had college student friends. And you know what college student friends do, right? They drink. They drink. And they take a variety of other things. And I got to be there and present with that and to see that. And I had already told my kid, that my husband was the problem and he was doing this. And so there was no way in hell I was going to get caught doing it. No way. And so 30 days, 30 hellish nightmare days, I was separated from all that stuff that just made me feel like I could, make it through the day. Because that's where I was at that time. I had to have something, or a variety of somethings to make it through the day. 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. 30 long freaking days. And, I said God had blessed me by putting me in that treatment center in my whacked out state because I knew who to call. And I started calling those people. And they said something to me about, we can't remember the humiliation of even a week or a month ago, right? And they used that little line as a reason to tell me that I needed to do my steps and do them quickly. And I was so miserable, I bought that. So miserable, I bought that. I spent a month, and so I bought that. So I come back home, and, first step, that was easy. That I was powerless, I could look back and, That didn't happen. I could look back and I could say, hell yeah, my life is unmanageable. My husband won't do what I want, and I don't have any money because I was depending on him, and my electricity is gonna get cut off, and I can't even buy gas for my car. And hell yeah, my life is unmanageable. I can go with that. Am I powerless over alcohol? Well. It's really hard to stay away from the shit. Does that count? And then there was number two. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. You want me to admit that I'm insane? What? Really? I don't know, I kind of got an issue with that, because, I'm probably the sanest person I know. Seriously. But you know what it says? It says, came to believe, which meant I didn't have to believe that yet. It's like, I was at McDonald's, you're trying to serve me a Big Mac, I don't know if I like it, but I'll take it from you. Okay? So we got that. But it says, power greater than ourselves could restore us. And I got hung up there, because in my little brain, my little sane brain, I thought that said would restore me. Would. And that was kind of hard. Why? Why would? And that was my question, and I got stuck for a while. Why would? Because, by this time I was figuring out that if I couldn't manage my life very well, then I must be a failure, and I must be a little shit, and maybe I'm pretty worthless, and I'm definitely not good enough. So why would? Why would? But a cool thing happened, because Tradition 2 was pointed out. Because thank God they read that in every single meeting you go to. That's kind of cool. Because it says, a loving God. And that was new for me. If you're raised in the deep South, Georgia, it's all hellfire and brimstone. You're going to hell for that. And Jesus. I've been in hell many times over, sitting in a church pew, actually. you know, so I struggled with that. But the tradition was there, and it makes sense, you know. This is a divinely orchestrated thing, I'm pretty sure. And the way this all lines up. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Here's what I know about decisions. I can make a decision right now and be all fine and dandy with it, and that doesn't mean it's got to hold up 10 minutes from now. Right? It's just a decision, right? It doesn't mean I actually have to follow through. That's what I'm getting at. I knew this because I had lots of experience with this, right? Make a decision now, change my mind later. So that was okay, I could do that. Then here comes this fourth step. Woo! And it was handed me in this nice little book form with these lists, and like, I was told I had to do it with a black ink pen because it had to be in black and white, and like some really rigid shit. I mean, like, there was no wiggle room here, you know? It was like, you need to do this. And it was like a lot of pages, and thank God for cigarettes. Thank God for cigarettes. Yeah, definitely. I sat outside my then sponsor's house, on a picnic table with a couple packs of cigarettes and those damn lists and my black pen, and did it. And I just knocked that sucker out. And man, it was so much easier. You know, I couldn't wait to do the fifth step. Oh, what, you want me to tell you what's on here? Sure! I'm surprised too. Let's go through with this, you know? I mean, this is shit I've never looked at, you know? Like, me? You want me to look at me? No. See, I'm a fixer and a rescuer. I look at everybody else and I help them. That's me. So it was real interesting, that 2 packs of cigarettes and that picnic table and those lists that magically appeared. And, you know, but, I mean, I was rigorously honest, and I was thorough, just like it said, and I did it, and I got through it, and it was really cool. And the rest of this just came like that. It was like there was some kind of magic when I sat down and told somebody all the shit I'd done, and how crazy I was. And, you know? And the cool thing about it is it was somebody who knew about all this good stuff that I had been doing, right? And then they got to see, like, real me, and I got to see real me, and it was all okay because there was this loving God, you know? And sponsors are so important because they play that role of that loving God, that higher power here on earth. They'll listen to your shit and not judge you. In fact, they'll say, oh yeah, I've been there, I've done that. Got the t-shirt too. You know? It's so cool. So cool. So I get my stuff done in about a week. And that next weekend I get to hear my first fifth step. And that's where the game changed. That's where everything changed. The rest of my life was still a mess. You know, I was still broke, still couldn't afford gas in my truck, still had a looming mortgage payment, still had a husband that was gone, still had, you know, and then there was conflict, right? Conflict, because I had a lot of messes I had made, so there was conflict everywhere, and I just kept being told, we've ceased fighting. We've ceased fighting alcohol. We've ceased fighting everything. We've ceased fighting. And so then I had to figure that out, you know? Thank God for the iPhone, you can block people. Which means you can try to call them and it won't go through. Woo! That's the mother of all inventions right there, because you know us crazy people, right? But, you know, we're like, dial, I'm going to call and hang up on you 50 million times until you call me back and say something so we can get into a fight, you know, because that's really what I want to do here. Why don't you love me? What the hell's wrong with you? And blah, 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 right? I'm telling you, man, technology's your friend. You get that Apple iPhone, you can just block that shit. You can't even call out. That's how it ceased fighting. So today my life is freaking awesome, right? 18 months. 18 months, and it's freaking awesome. I've done this jail AA thing for like about a year. It's really cool. I get to sponsor a lot of women. I've got 3 sponsees who are still sober. Like 2 of them have over a year.
That's good.
And they still talk to me. I'm living this program every single day. Every single day. Husband's at home. Actually, he's at work. That's why he's not here tonight. It doesn't matter what he does. I get to allow him the freedom to live his life, and he can make any choice he wants to make. And I can still love him, tolerate him, have patience with him, and more importantly, be kind to him. Because you know what? He's going to get this deal when he's ready to get this deal. But there's no more crazy in my house, right? Because I don't show up. I don't show up at the crazy. I don't show up at the crazy anywhere in my life, right? That's what this program taught me. The way I got there is I'm on my knees every morning. Every morning. When I don't feel like it, I still roll out of bed on my knees, right? The on my knees thing for me is important because that's that, hey, I'm your child. I'm smaller than you, this higher power, this larger presence, right? This is this act of supplication. And I say those prayers, man, that 3rd step prayer, that 7th step prayer, I say, show me the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. I don't ask for patience because then God will throw something at me that I really don't want. See, I'm learning his tricks. It's a funny dude up there, man. Funny dude. Don't ask for what you don't really want. Okay? Just don't do it. Take it from me. I've already made those mistakes. Don't do it. Show me the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love. Direct my thoughts and my actions, divorcing them from self-pity, selfishness. I throw in resentment and fear and dishonesty, and I stay true to this right here, man. This is my security blanket, right? This is what this is. Because when I have a question, when I have a concern, it's right here. It's right here. And that's where I go. And that's how I deal with these sponsees. And the Lord's given me some crazy freaking sponsees, man. Crazy. And I've had lots of other ones that haven't gotten this deal. And I've got some that, man, I'm just waiting on God to show up. Right? In between all these madman crazy texts and messages and calls and can you get me right here and do this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just waiting on God to show up. And you know what? It's happening. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for every one of you who came in this room. And one last thing I'm going to say. I am a recovered alcoholic. Recovered. I go to the solution group because we say that word, recovered. Because you know what? It's in this big book. It's in there 15 times in the first 164 pages. When it says the words recovering, it's talking about the husband. Right? One employer. I'm in there for that. But what I'm saying is, if I hadn't heard that word recovered and heard that there was this hope, there was this possibility that this shit wasn't going to rule my mind and my life, every single minute of every waking day, and it wasn't going to come back when shit got real, then I wouldn't have done this deal. I wouldn't have gone to that second meeting. I wouldn't have called that sponsor. I sure as hell wouldn't have done that 4th step. And I wouldn't be out there trying to carry this message. That's it. Thank you. Woo! Happened in church and my parents' beliefs about it, and God was just this vengeful God, and so I just knew that when I was asking for help in those bathroom experiences that, it was going to be like a lightning strike or something, and so I didn't really want to do that stuff. But along about 2008, I was miraculously saved in a situation that I really should have died. And, there was a little bit of stuff that was involved that day. Okay, let's be honest. There was a lot of stuff that was involved that day, and alcohol was the primary cause. It was also a relationship and stuff like that, And it left me with a permanent injury. That permanent injury led me into doctor's offices, and that always helped my love of alcohol, because they say don't mix stuff, but come on, really, it's like a recipe. It's right there. Don't mix it. Usually if you say don't to me, I'm gonna do it. That's you giving me the go ahead, right? So, I had been what I would say was drug free for several years. Now, that doesn't mean I was working a program, doesn't even mean I knew there was a program that existed. It just meant that what had been my choice in earlier years, I wasn't doing anymore, And so, anyway, so this injury caused me a lot of problem and a lot of pain. And that took me down a really dark road. And, some stuff happened. I got in some trouble. It wasn't my fault, and I don't really know what happened because I was, in a jail.